It's a spooky month, and what better way to celebrate Halloween festivities than watching horror-themed media? Fall season has just started, and it's time to grab a cup of coffee and get cozy because we'll be discussing how horror has evolved in Isekai anime. Isekai is currently the most popular and trending genre, and its horror elements are often overlooked. I think it's an interesting concept to discuss, and you guys would also get new suggestions to watch anime this month. And to our fellow anime enthusiasts here who have been following our channel for quite some time, we would like to thank you for your ongoing support. Now, with further ado, let's start the video. The main reason that we are discussing horror elements in the isekai genre is the fact that isekai itself can be pretty scary too. While getting sent to another world may seem really exciting, that's not entirely the case, and it can prove to be an utterly terrifying experience. I mean, think about it. What if, while you are watching this video, you are suddenly transported to a fantasy world while having the memories of the previous world intact? And it turns out that you had died before coming to the said world? Pretty scary, right? Imagine what your close friends or even your parents would think of your sudden passing. Now, let that existential dread creep in within you as we're about to give our first recommendation here, which is Recreators. Now, Recreators is a reverse isekai, which means that fictional characters appearing in media are somehow coming to the real world. And what should be a pleasant and amazing experience turns out to be extremely terrifying. Okay, so the plot is that our main hero, Sota, is busy watching a mecha anime, which I'm not going to tell you because it's just too long. And at first, he gets dragged into it and witnesses a battle between Silesia and a military uniform girl who is known as Military Uniform Princess, and she brings all of the heroes and heroines into the real world. Here's the kicker. Some of those characters have joined the princess while Sota and Silesia find a way to return them to their own worlds, which is a reminder that having our favorite characters come to life may not be as awesome as one might think. Up next, we have Overlord, and I'm pretty sure you know about this isekai, but not of its overlooked horror elements. Remember I told you in the 5 anime villains video about protagonist villains, which you can check out after this video? Well, our protagonist of the Overlord series, Ainz Olgaun, is the perfect example of this, and if you are, by chance, against this guy, well, this is where the horror elements kick in. Scenes where Ainz, offs people he considers enemies can be pretty hard to watch. Examples of his barbarity include Ainz's destruction of the entire royal army, the torture of the workers who have faced the most horrible fate, and the death of Clementine in Season 1. All of these moments show off that Overlord is not a show for the faint-hearted. Just like Overlord before, we have another show that most of you already know, and that's The Rising of Shield Hero. The realism that is portrayed in the show really gives me goosebumps. And if you think about it, if you, the viewer, were in Naofumi's shoes, you would have to deal with the prejudice, religious demagogues, and the loneliness of being an outcast to the entire society. Which is a very scary thought. As if that wasn't enough, the same shield hero has to protect the same society that has ostracized him from the waves of calamity, which is a strange phenomenon that results in interdimensional creatures being summoned to wreak havoc on mankind. Being a shield hero sure is stressful and scary. There is this unique anime that goes by the name of Full Dive, and it's the story of a boy named Hitoshi who somehow manages to get the most realistic VR game, Kiwami Quest, from store manager Riona Kisaragi, only to find out that it's not what it seems. The game is too realistic than he had hoped, after realizing that he can feel actual pain while inflicting it as well. Things take a turn for the worse after he accidentally murders an NPC, and this is where the creepiness comes in. The tone of the show may be humorous, but its concept can be as scary as it can get. And it's enough to make even the most hardcore of all gamers a little less enthusiastic about evolution in VR games. Similar to Sword Art Online, where you get stuck in a virtual world and getting out of it would result in literal death. Yeesh. If you've been spooked out too much, now is the chance to pause the video and take a break while you like, subscribe, and smash that bell icon button. You can unpause it at your own convenience. Sometimes the most obscure anime can turn out to be the most creepy ones as well, and there's an anime film called Hells, which is an adaptation of the Hells Angels manga that follows the story of Amagane Rin, a teenage girl where she gets hit by a truck on her way to school, classic isekai style, and ends up in hell. I mean, literal hell. Being the playful and cheerful girl she is, she ends up joining a school and tries to become friends with her fellow demons while trying to finish her studies. Here's the plot twist. She doesn't know that she's dead. Now that is one scary thought process where you just want to complete school without knowing that you've died. It's a fact that humans fear nothing except death. I can't imagine what their reaction would be if they got to know about dying over and over again, reliving their most horrifying moments repeatedly forever. Sounds similar to ReZero, right? Subaru's life is just like that. I'm pretty sure you all know the basic scenario of ReZero, where Subaru dies 1,000 deaths stuck in a time loop, which include getting beaten up by thugs, voluntarily leaping off a cliff, and being murdered by an evil witch. Oh, and Rem murdered him one time too. Here's the scariest part of the whole situation. Every time he dies, he remembers everything that has happened in that loop. And given that he has died 1,000 times, he would remember those 1,000 times that he was murdered. As anyone else could imagine, the constant feeling of death takes a psychological toll on Subaru, which is perhaps even worse than death itself. I just want to give Subaru a hug, man. ReZero has featured several elements that differentiated it from other shows at the time, which include a less than ideal protagonist who was not OP in any way, shape, or form, but finds himself in a world that he doesn't understand. The horror elements show themselves in the ways Subaru dies in each loop. He feels each death, which makes it pretty terrifying. Also, with Subaru, mostly powerless, going up against some entities who are so much more powerful than him brings its own sense of fear. Probably the prime example of isekai horror that I can give you is none other than Corpse Party, which is literally a blend of horror and isekai. Though it may be an old anime, it's a classic for sure. It follows a group of high school students who are celebrating their school's cultural festival. The group is telling ghost stories to each other when, all of a sudden, a pseudo-earthquake happens, and they are transported to a dilapidated schoolhouse in an alternate dimension. To make matters worse, it's haunted by the ghosts of people who have been trapped there, and they are out for blood. In true horror fashion, Corpse Party is a gory, mysterious, and all-around terrifying series in its own right, and arguably the scariest isekai anime around. Do watch it, you'll be scared to death. And that's about it with the evolution of horror in isekai anime. You can notice it got scarier with every latest release, and ReZero is the latest example of it. Hope you've been spooked enough, and comment down some of your spookiest anime while sharing this video with your friends. See you in the next one!